Okay, in the previous video, we kind of made a quick model, used this quick start plugin I have to get a human model going. And in order for a quick start into our game, we'll need some land for him, for our human to stand on. So I'm gonna come over to a new, just a general file. Yes, save that one. So kind of the same steps. I'm gonna go over to the selection tool I like. Just hit W to scroll through those and get rid of that default stuff. And for the quick start, I'm just going to add a big flat surface and could use a plane. I just like to use cubes instead of planes. I don't really have a good reason for doing that. I just personal preference. One thing I do like to change though is the default cube in Blender is a 2 by 2 by 2 cube, and it makes more sense to me to work with a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. So I always come over to scale and change that to 0.5. So scale it down by half. And then with the cursor somewhere in the viewport, if you push Control A, you can apply that new scale. So Control A and go ahead and apply that transform. So now the 100% scale is a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. And I find that a lot easier because then we can just scale it up by that one thing. Oh, and those starter files I did are measured correctly. So like that human we just imported, the computer thinks that's whatever the average height. Ask Google what the average height of human was, like 1.7 something meters, I think. I just asked Google what it was and copied and pasted the number in there to get that character. So everything in that is sized correctly. So we're working with meters. I'll do a 75 by 75 meter surface, like nice little square. And we could come in with, go to edit mode, add a bunch of vertexes and raise spots up and lower spots and get a nice little thing going. We will have a tutorial on that coming up soon. More details. For now, just a quick start. I'm just going to add a material to it. So down here we can add a material. And we could add a new, just make it a solid color. Just come down and choose a color the same way we did. Choose something green. But I'm worried if it's solid green, it might be hard to tell if the character's moving when we get to the next step here in just a couple steps from now. So instead of a solid color, I'm going to click this little button next to the base color and choose an image texture. So now we have a way to load in an image, and I'm just going to load in that tile that we created for the 2D stuff. Game dev, my game, images, and we have that grass tile 1, the big image or the small image. I'll just go ahead and grab the big image and switch over to material view. And that way there's some difference applied there so that we can see that. Just to check, I'm going to see what happens if I bring in the small image. Yeah, I'll use the big one. Just to kind of see that way there's some other lines and stuff there, so that if we're zoomed in, we'll be able to tell the character is moving a few steps from now. And when we get to actual detailed tutorial about Blender, these sort of semi-random images I put together work really well for texture mapping. We can like raise the green spots up a couple inches and lower the brown spots down a couple inches and have a textured surface. Just right like that. It'll look more like ground. But that's for a later tutorial. For now, just a quick start. So that'll work. I'm going to come over here, save this file, and I'll call it ground as a blend file. And then once again, Panda 3D wants to work with BAM files. So I'm going to export the GLTF 2.0, so a .glb file. Make sure that UVs and materials are selected and export that. Oh, my thing's over on the other window, the other screen. So in here, under images, now we have our Blender files to do some editing with and improvements. Add some animations to that human here before too long. And we have our models. So if we open this up, take a look at it. Hopefully it won't take too long. Yeah, so we have some land for the character to walk on. And everything is sized correctly with meters. Those starter files I have use the average height of a human for the size, and then rescaled it so the 100% scaling in every direction is the average dimensions of a human when I ask Google for that. The 3D models, but we need a BAM file. So Panda 3D gives us tons and tons and tons of converters, all the major formats we can convert. The Blender 2 BAM is trailing behind some major updates in Blender, but should be coming along before long. But when I'm making these videos, it hasn't caught up with the latest version of Blender yet. Whoops, not human. So GLTF2 BAM, we have that converter that was provided with Panda 3D. So we're going to do ground.glb and convert to ground BAM file, which doesn't need an extension, but I like to include an extension to keep them straight. Because oftentimes that's not the only file that will just have that plain white icon like that. So I like to include the BAM file to keep them straight. So those are the two files we'll need to actually import into our 3D engine. So we're going to close out of this, save this. So now that we have our files, we'll throw that together in the next tutorial because it looks like 7 minutes. So just a quick start for the 3D modeling, and there will be a detailed tutorial coming up on the 2D image stuff and the 3D image, the 2D and 3D image graphics stuff will be coming up. So, but first we want to get a quick start so we can get back to coding. And I guess we'll load those in the next video. I will see you then.